our purpose became much clearer. And if there was a distinction between the US show and our show, it was that the US show is a domestic American show, whereas we as internationals go along as passengers, where we really have a role to play in bringing the community together.
Hello and welcome to Reef, I always say there's special episodes of the Retail Podcast. I feel like I have so many children and I love them all. But truly, this is a special episode or a unique episode because we get to look behind the scenes. And I think that's really important when we're talking about conferences, when we're attending the conferences. What more would you want to know as an attendee than to have a sneak peek behind the scenes? And we're really privileged to be joined by Quail, Managing Director of Retail's Big Show Asia Pacific. As an attendee last year, and I think I said this to you face to face, the energy, the passion, the execution that you brought to the event, being that it was the first event in the region, was phenomenal. And I think, if you don't mind, why don't we start there, 2024. How was that for you when you sort of now almost on the cusp of the show 2025, but how was 2024 for you?
From now looking back is just a real sense of gratitude. A lot of big organizations put a lot of faith in us to do, it was a big undertaking. And I feel that we repaid them in spades. So last year we were aiming for 5,000 registrations. We had 8,600.
Wow.
And we turned off conference tickets 8 days before because we were worried that we couldn't actually deliver a space for the people that were buying tickets. So we didn't sell any conference tickets for the last 8 days.
Right.
And then we had, our expo, we had one floor of expo and that was incredibly, it was full and excitement and energetic. We had 52 countries attend in the first year. And it was mind blowing for me because when I was running events in Australia, I knew everybody in the market. So if we were a bit soft on sponsorship, we were worried about retailers coming, I could always just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
We ran a comprehensive regional program, and we didn't know everybody.
Yeah.
So it really proves the power of a brand and an effective program that delivers an outcome. Felt like we just created a movement. People came towards us and they just want to, and this year they're already talking to us and they're telling us what they're doing and how they're coming and we've made mistakes along the way, but we knew where they were and we can improve them. So I think for me, it's as I said before, it's one of gratitude. It's been an amazing experience, and I've just met some awesome people through the process.
So you've spent a year going around to your advisory board. You've sort of got, you've definitely, the agenda's already been published. So what has driven the agenda for this year?
We really, coming through the first year's show, and then also engaging our advisory board and also the wider market, it really became clear that our purpose became much clearer. And if there was a distinction between the US show and our show, it was that the US show is a domestic American show, whereas we as internationals go along as passengers.
Yeah.
Where we really have a role to play in bringing the community together. And so in terms of the way we engage our advisory board, it's much more about diversity on stage. We've got this year much more diverse than we were last year. So we were diverse last year, but our stages are much more diverse. So we'll have 11 keynotes with 11 leaders from 11 different markets in the region, from India to Japan to Australia to the US to Singapore to Malaysia. So we've got lots to the Philippines, leaders from all around the region. And then we'll have 18 breakouts, which are really the how-to sessions, a bit more functional sessions, and they're more led by, I suppose, heads of HR or heads of marketing or heads of e-commerce or heads of transformation that will talk to some of the big, hairy topics in the region. What we've tried to do there, though, is actually match up. So rather than doing 4 on a panel, it's just 2 on a panel with a moderator and having an Australia and a Thailand or a New Zealand and a Japan. So having really contrasting markets. So they might be talking about, for example, we've got a great session on ESG and sustainability, and we've got DFI in Southeast Asia, and we've got Coles in Australia.
Got you.
And so the way that global legislations manifest in their markets and in their organizations, while it's similar, is very different. And so it allows us to see, retailers to take things away and see stuff that are that's unique to their market or unique to another market, which they can lift and transfer. And then there's other stuff like, for example, we talk about the delivery revolution, which is unique to this region, such as quick commerce in India. Yeah. Which is, when the iPhone recently launched, I think it was 18 months ago, if you're in Hyderabad, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, you ordered a phone and it arrived on your desk 8 minutes later. And no one in the world has done quick commerce like India has. And now we're seeing how businesses from grocery to costume jewelry are re-engineering their business around delivery as a service, convenience. So this is totally unique to our region. And so that's been really neat. And I think the other thing too, which is probably the most challenging for our region, and another reason for us to be, is in the content we're seeing a real desire to cross borders as a retailer, to expand geographically, but through culture, language, currency, legislative context, that's really hard. Yeah. And so if you're Japanese and you want to go to Malaysia, you've got to find a Malaysian partner. If you're Australian and you want to go to Vietnam, you can't do it on your own. You've got to find someone in Vietnam who is going to be spiritually aligned enough with you that you can form a collaboration with to allow you to take that leap. So we're doing some really nice, interesting work in terms of opening up markets, in terms of different range of speakers, having some country spotlights on places like the Philippines, on Indonesia, and on Thailand. So people can really start understanding, are these markets I want to enter?
Yeah. And then I've noticed that in terms of the hall space, you've expanded.
So last year we had a red carpet club, which was our sort of a leadership club. And that didn't work because in America, all the CEOs are domestic and they all know each other. Yeah. In Asia Pacific, all the CEOs don't know each other. So we needed to have some facilitated networking. So we took that out and moved it up to level 3. And we're having a whole program of facilitated networking among CEOs and the CEO club. And that's going to be the largest gathering of retailer CEOs in the region. So if you want to build your business case to come as a retailer, convince your boss who's a CEO to come to the CEO club, because their ticket's free. But we'd love to have as much gathering, as many of those as possible. The other thing we've done on the floor was remove some of the elements which didn't work as well this year, like some of the arranged meetings. We've taken those out. So there's actually more exhibitors. And
I've got it here.
Yeah, more exhibitors. And then we've also got, last year we only had 2 exhibitor big ID stages, those green stages at the back of the hall. Yeah. We'll have 3 this year. And they only seated 80 last year. This year we'll be able to fit in 130 into those sessions because they were oversubscribed. And
you've kept your innovation area, I see, as well.
Yeah. So the Innovator Showcase has now become a global program. So this is really neat. So in New York, in Singapore, and in Paris, NRF Europe in Paris in September, the VCs, this is a program independently curated. The VCs pitch the latest, greatest retail tech. Okay. And they pitch the tech. We have about 120 plus people pitch for about 30 spots. Yeah. And then we have the gathering of the best bleeding edge retail tech from anywhere in the world. So from people coming to NRF APAC, they're going to see in one place 30 exhibitors that are the latest and greatest as deemed by our curation team. So that's pretty cool. So you won't see that anywhere else, and they have that in New York, and we have that in Paris as well. So it's a global program now.
And then I've noticed you've kept your special tours, special programs in terms of retail store tours, and then the expo tours, right?
Yeah. So the expo tours we've got 3 different types, and really they're centered around operational excellence, marketing and some of the cool technology such as AI and other immersive tech. And they're really designed for retailers to sort of look at those heartland big bucket topics, back office, front office, and bleeding edge technology, with the view to solving problems in their business. So, that means that as a retailer, I can go, well, okay, the tool will allow me to go, well, I need to understand AI fully, so therefore I can take an application back and a use case back to my business that will begin us on the journey. Or it might be the fact that I have an operational problem in my business around inventory, and I need to find a set of suppliers that can help me with that, or a set of partners who have the answers to the questions I need to answer. So that's the tours from the expo point of view. In terms of the retail tours for Singapore itself, Singapore is really fortunate that it's the hub for Southeast Asia. So a lot of some of the best practice retail, whether that be the Adidas's and Nikes or the Porsches, are running amazing retail experiences. So there's and people like FairPrice at a domestic level are also doing some pretty incredible stuff. And so you'll be able to go and look at, there's 3 different tour types that will allow you to look at some of the best of retail in the Singapore marketplace. Some quite traditional, some looking at different formats, some looking at different installations, and then obviously the use of technology and grocery, the whole lot. So you'll be able to have obviously if you're in Asia, grocery is important because food is very important in Asia. So so understanding how that all fits together is quite cool too. So those tours were much more improved because we took a lot more out of 2024, learnt so much. Also, it was a bit supply and demand. We understood what our retailers were looking for, but more importantly, got much deeper into the headspace of the region. And really, people like Enterprise Singapore Tourism Board as well as our big Singapore advisors have provided, and Singapore Retail Association have given us a lot bigger, better steer into tapping into what's best in the market.
So Reef, you probably, like all of us, have been glued to the screens over the last couple of weeks. Tariffs and the impact that it's having on the global economy. I'm just curious, when you have such a global show in such a hot region of the world, how does that bleed into your conference? Or are there talks in it? Can you expand that for us?
A great question for us. And I think for me, really, at the end of the day, the big thing out of this whole, created uncertainty is that there's one thing for certain is our purpose. And our purpose is to create intra-APAC collaboration. And so within our region, everyone's pretty open to each other. We're not talking about facilitating trade between Asia Pacific companies in the US. We're talking about facilitating trade within Asia Pacific region. And so, and retail thrives through open conversations, collaborations, connecting with like minds. So I think it's given an even stronger purpose for us to exist. Because as companies think about diversifying their supply chains, we've got countries like China, of course, but we've got countries like Philippines, Vietnam, who are creating a lot of materials for all sorts of different companies. Then we've got some super big markets such as Indonesia, India, China. So how do you play in those markets as a retailer? And then how do these markets come and expand out? We're talking, as I said before, and touch on the CEO Club, to have a whole bunch of CEOs in the region who can talk to each other and find opportunity to work together in a place where they quite often didn't know each other. I think the context just gives us more reason to be. I think, and that's pretty cool, because that's what I want to do anyway. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning every day, to see that stuff. And so now there's even more of a reason to do that and to be that platform that allows those connections and collaborations to occur. So for me, that's really neat. So I'm actually, we all went, and held our breath. but really, it's even better. You know, it's a business doesn't want to stop. They just need to look for other ways of doing it, and the whole region's ready to do business.
One of the things that I love is I'm going to take part in the show, and we had a pre-call with the FamilyMart.
He's number 2.
Okay, we had a conversation with the number 2 person at FamilyMart, and I've got to be honest. I mean, the easiest way for people who don't know FamilyMart is to think of 7-Eleven, and that's who you've got. But what I came away with, and I came away with this feeling from Shanghai last year when I was in Shanghai. We are so fixated on technology over here that we forget that once technology is solved, what happens next? And here you have an executive, ex-CEO of Uniqlo, who is bringing all of this creative juice and elements to an industry, the convenience industry, because technology, if you like, is solved, right? They don't need to optimize anything anymore. Yes, you can optimize things a little bit more, but it's absolutely all about the experience. How do you stand out? How are you unique? How do you bring your future customers in? And I was just sat there, and this was a pre-talk, right? We were just sat there going, okay, let's just have a quick chat before, like 30 minutes, just glued to my little screen to what he has to say. And I just found what a wonderful example of a Japanese powerhouse, because within Japan they're huge, and within the region they've got stores in other parts of the region. But when you mention convenience, most people probably roll their eyes and go, convenience, right? But you know, you ain't seen nothing yet, as they say, when the transformation that one convenience powerhouse is going on. And I think that's such a reflection of the maturity of the industry within your region, and how globally mature they are. And then on the other side, how they still are transforming and maturing within certain markets. And I think, again, sorry, go on.
I finished that call and went out because obviously FamilyMart have launched convenience wear. So I've got I bought 2 pairs of I bought some socks. I've got 2 pairs. I've got to give some to Rafi. I've got to give some to Rafi, my program manager. But Adaki-san was quite keen to bring us. They've got a whole range of convenience wear. It was really neat, actually. So
were they expensive?
No, they weren't at all. It was awesome. And they're quite. I feel a bit Gen Z-ish in my sort of white sort of half calf. In the colours of white socks, in the colours of FamilyMart, sort of a green and an aqua, with little rings around them. I look pretty retro.
I want to be super respectful to your time, obviously in Singapore. In terms of the final thoughts, what do we have in store in terms of size and scale, or at the expo this year, at the conference this year?
So in terms of the expo and conference, obviously we have more exhibitors this year. It'll be bigger, we will. I suppose events are people based, so it's about the people who attend. I think, in terms of where we are today, we are a long way ahead of where we were in 2024. So I hope to see somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 through the site, which means we'll have 13,000 or 14,000 registrations. With just under 50 days to go, that looks incredibly likely now. Which is just mind-blowing. So it's going to be pretty busy. We should have a lot of fun. And then I think through the conference, I think we'll probably get to probably another 50% more than we were last year in terms of people. So it's going to be pretty full. So I think from my mind, it's going to be, we had a great first show. This year's show is going to be really busy. And I think there's going to be more diversity in terms of the group. We'll have more language. We'll have, obviously on site, we'll have particularly Chinese and Japanese, and there'll be more people to meet, and just so many more people to meet. So I think that from an outside, if you're coming for the first time, just expect it's if you come, for example, if you come from my market in Australia, it's like nothing you've ever seen. And that's why I find myself quite fortunate of being part of it, because it's just big. And there's so many different people you can meet and collaborate with.
I've got for me, it's incredible. And actually, we have to talk about this off when we finish recording. I've got my clients from China like last year we spoke about it, but this year there's 3 or 4 of them making the effort to fly out from China. Obviously, they're a European company with offices there, but it's on their radar, which I thought was phenomenal. That they're getting 4 execs to fly over, because it's, as you said, the region now is really coming together, but there has been that sort of gap for where do they come together at, which is that space that you're filling.
And I think that's come from, you know, that still desire. People hung back a little bit in the first year, but I also think that the desire is there. There's been, as I said before, a few people have actually said thank you because they've been waiting for this sort of event for a while, for such a long time.
Yeah,
that's just, you know, I love what I do.
Yeah,
but you know, when people, after you've done one event, everyone's saying thank you. It's like that's really neat. But it as I said before, it will be bigger in terms of people and numbers, a lot bigger.
Gosh. I think it was busy last year.
Yeah, it was busy last year. So, and we've resisted the urge to have 2 floors of expo. We could have, but we'll do one and we'll just grow in an orderly manner. This year, I think really it's about the experience, and doubling down on, you know, making it a really fantastic experience for people who come to Singapore and make the trip, and that's where our emphasis will be, and then as we can continue to grow in a way that, you know, as aligned to the values of the show. And I think that over time this show can be one of the biggest in the world, because you think we're only in year 2 and we could have 10,000 people through the site, you know, that's just in the 2nd year.
Yeah.
So, which is just so neat.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt of watching this show. I'm you know, from the moment that I've shared this story many times. I saw Reef. I saw I can't remember, the Minister of Culture, whoever person was, at NRF 3-4 years ago, talking about this regional event that we're going to do, and it just made so much sense, in the sense that there are so many retailers that I've spoken to in the UK, in Europe, and in region that look for that. Where do we come together, right? Yes, you can go to an in-country event, but there are very few. So it's a real joy to watch this to go from strength to strength to strength. And thank you. It's only, you know, I think with the right energy that you can pull this off. So I'm super excited.
Thank you, man. And to finish that thought, it's just, we're creating a movement. You know, that's what we're trying to do. And at this point in time, for us, as we grow, it's about bringing people towards the show who are passionate, who are invested, and that's what we're looking for. And there's just been so many of them that we're just trying to hold them all together. And because once we get them together, we just got to get out of the way and let them do their thing and meet each other and enjoy the moment, right? Because I think, you know, that is what will make us successful. It'll be the people that continue to come year on year that just make this such a fantastic show.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Reef, I look forward to seeing you in 2 months?
About 47 days, I reckon.
47 days and counting.
Not counting at all.
So much.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Take care.